guys, and welcome to Faith Works Designs. I'm Faith, and today I am even more excited than normal for this collaboration with K&A Custom Fabrics. Normally when we do collaborations with K&A Custom Fabrics, I make a pattern and then they send it off to have some kind of artwork put on it, or we've created a lot of bags this year. Now we want to offer printable patterns so that you guys don't have to get, if you're not into Harry Potter but you like the style of a bag, we now can offer printable patterns. So I am beyond excited. Now you can purchase not only your fabric, but also patterns from K&A Custom Fabrics website. So you can just print out your pattern. There will always be a video and written instructions to all of the patterns. And even better, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but K&A Custom Fabric actually offers these panels that are the perfect size for this bag as well as other stuff that I've done in the past. They are the extra large double panels. And as a test for myself, I wanted to make sure that the pattern, lining, and the top fabric, your outer fabric, could all fit on the one panel. So today, introducing the Sarah crossbody bag. So she's a unique one. You can make this bag out of one extra large double-sided panel. The whole thing. 16 bucks and you've got a bag. Plus your straps and all that stuff. We're not going to count that. Anyway, so in the very front, you'll see that we have the main panel. And a lot of the extra large panels, you'll have like a main panel that you have, and then there's like a coordinate underneath. So for today, I am using the main part of the bag for the front slip pocket. You've got your slip pocket in the front. You've also got binding on the inside. I know some of you guys are scared of it. I would so much rather bind a bag than have to birth a bag. Who's with me? Let me know in the comment section down below. Are you birthing or binding? Let me know. So on the inside, it's a very, very simple bag. There are no zippers or anything, but they can easily be added. We just wanted to make a really, really easy bag for you guys. That was a nice, easy crossbody bag as our tester, and for our first pattern we were just trying to keep it easy. But anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Let's get started. Alright, for my fabric today, I am using a panel from K&A Custom Fabrics. Their extra large panels are going to fit this purse perfectly. They measure 28 wide by 36 inches long, and there are plenty of material to make a ton of stuff. If you have not seen my video that I made recently, I will pop it up here for you guys to watch. You can make and get a lot of stuff out of these panels. And I've seen a lot of people doing this, and I decided to do it too, because sometimes it kind of seems like a waste. But I went ahead and I interfaced all of my pieces with, you can do SF101, I like 950F, Pellon 950F. It is entirely up to you what you want to interface this with. But I actually got a canvas this time, and I wanted to try something a little thicker, so I used the 950F, and I went ahead and just in one sheet, I just interfaced the whole thing. And that way when I'm laying out my pieces, I don't have to cut all of that out, cut out all of my interfacing, and then so on. So I went ahead and interfaced everything. If you want to do that, you are going to be using every inch of this up. So I would highly encourage you to go ahead and just iron all of that on. Let's talk hardware. So the very first thing you're going to need to make sure you have is two 1-inch D-rings. Along with that, the pattern gives you the measurements for the 1-inch strap, the 1-inch webbing. This is going to go on the side of your bag to hold on your D-ring. You're also going to need two zipper pulls. You can always use one, it's up to you, but I just like the double opening. You are also going to need a thing of nylon zipper tape. The measurements for all of this stuff is going to be in your written directions. So you're going to need some zipper tape to go along with your zipper pulls. I am using a 5 zipper tape. You're also going to need your strap hardware. You're going to be needing two 1.5 inch, or you can use 1 inch, it's up to you. But I have a 1.5 inch swivel clasp and then a 1.5 inch strap adjuster. For my strap, I went ahead and got a 1.5 inch webbing because I thought it looked really nice together. So Now that we've got all of our hardware and our webbing, let's get to cutting. So let's talk pattern pieces. So if you're going to be printing these out, I wanted to share with you guys a tip that I have been doing. I have been buying this cardstock for printing out all of my patterns, because I've noticed that the paper, if I do the pattern more than once, the paper gets torn, it gets messed up. It just doesn't cut out as well. So I ended up starting to get this cardstock stuff, and it works really, really nicely. There are no special printing instructions. It should print out just fine at regular size. Someone had mentioned in a tester group giving you guys instructions on putting all of the pieces together, so I wanted to show you guys really quickly. The letters correspond to each other. So your bottom gusset, which there's a spelling error on mine, ignore that. A goes to A, B goes to B, C goes to C, and they all should have the names of each piece on each piece. So the zipper gusset D goes to D. So hopefully that clears that up for you guys if you had any issues with putting the pattern pieces together. Alright, so we are going to want to get both of our lining and our outside fabric out of this one panel. And the way that I like to do that is I printed out a couple extra pieces so that I can lay everything out. The very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab your front slip pocket panel. And what I like to do is I like to fold it in half, because I want to find the center, and then we're going to come up here to our main panel. Hopefully you guys can see that. And I'm going to kind of find the center of it, like that, and then you can just double check, make sure that looks as centered as it can be, and then I like to just lay that out. That's the most important thing, to make sure that it's straight, and it's not like crooked, but that it's nice and straight. Once you get that out of the way, you can just kind of work all the way around it. So I'm going to pull this back up. Next thing I'm going to do is the gusset is pretty important. So what I like to do is put one gusset on the top main panel and then the other gusset on the other one. But we're going to concentrate on just the top portion of our panels right this second. I'm going to grab two of our front and back panels. Then I'm going to grab two of our zipper gussets. And so those can go right there. And then two of your little D-rings pieces. That'll cover up, that is pretty much all of your outside pieces. Now we're going to go to the very bottom. And I did the same thing. I printed out all of my pieces according to what the instructions say. You need an outer and inner of your bottom. You need an outer and inner of your zipper. You need 4 pieces of your D-rings. You need 2 of your slip pocket fronts. And you need 4 of your front and back panels, because 2 of them are going to be your outside and 2 of them are going to be your lining fabrics. So don't worry if that made absolutely no sense. I'm going to be showing you guys how I lay everything out, and that way when you get your double panels, this is how many pieces you should have. And you don't have to print out the pattern a couple of times so that you have enough pieces. You can just kind of lay things out as you go, but visually I wanted to show you guys where everything laid out. So I have everything from my lining on my bottom, and then everything from my outside fabric on the top. And then what I like to do, and I just wanted you guys to see what I was doing, what I like to do is actually flip this over and make all of my marks on my inner facing side. It does make it a little harder to see your front top panel, but I like to mark everything on the wrong side just in case, like, say I don't line this up correctly and it's off or it's askewed a little bit. At least on the back I can remark everything and move things around. So that's what I like to do. I'm going to go do that real quick. don't know if you guys caught it or not, because I know it was really hard to see, but I ended up having my main piece not be exactly where I wanted it, so I had to pick it up and move it over just slightly so that the image will be in the center. That's why I like marking all of my pieces on the back of my fabric, so that if I make a mistake, I can always go back and mark it. If you make a mistake on the front of your fabric, you're kind of stuck. So just wanted to show you guys that. Alright, so the very first pieces that we're going to be working on are the slip pocket. We're going to have the outside fabric and the lining fabric. But I do want to show you guys something I had done. This is one of my testers, and I wanted to use the whole panel as the front, the outside fabric, and the lining fabric. However, I found that it was going to be kind of like crushing in on itself, and I really like my bags to kind of stand up when I sit them down. So I like to take some waterproof canvas, and I like to take the outside of the panel. You do not have to do this if you don't want to, but I like to take all of my outside panels. It'll be the slip pocket panel, the panel that goes behind, the panel that goes behind this panel, your back panel, and then your two zipper gusset panels and your bottom gusset. So you're going to need to line those with waterproof canvas if you want your bag to be a little sturdier. It's up to you. You don't have to do this step, but that's what I like to do because I got problems with nobody to solve them. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the very front and our lining, and we are going to put them right sides together. And what we're going to do, I'm going to take you over to the sewing machine, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to start right here. We're going to come over and make sure that we're back stitching this right here so that we can make sure that when we flip it inside out, none of your seams come unsewn. We're going to come up, around, around, back down, pivot, and go this way. We're using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I will give you all of that at the sewing machine. Just make sure that you back stitch on these two sides. Alright, so I've got my stitch length set to a 3. I have a 16-inch needle. I can't remember what size needle I've got, but you know. I do have the canvas that I'm working with. I have my rainbow colored thread. I believe it is text 80. It's from Wizardry Stitchery. I cannot remember exactly, but I think it's 80 text. So what I'm going to do is a 1/4 inch all the way around the top, and we're just sewing around the top. So I'm going to take a couple stitches forward and bump the camera so that I can backstitch. One more. And then make sure that your needle is down when you go to turn, otherwise your thing is going to move. Alright, so while we're at the sewing machine, we're going to do two things. You need a sharp pair of scissors And if you have pinking shears, now would be a good time to get them. Alright, so at these corners right here, you're going to want to make little clips so that this will turn inside out a little better. And you don't want to accidentally get your stitches because then it'll unravel, but you just want to cut like 2 of your stitches, and you're going to do that on both sides. I have no strength in my hand right now. My elbow is killing me. I don't know why. I'm using scissors too much like this week, I guess. Alright, we have this round part right here, and if you don't trim it down, it's going to be kind of weird when you're trying to turn it inside out. So, from this corner that I made my little notch, I'm just going to trim and watch everything go everywhere all over my desk. It's fine. It's fine. After you get the seam allowance trimmed, you're going to want to take and turn this inside out. And I like to start with my round corners first. And then you're going to want to poke these little edges out right here. And then on this side right there. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch from the edge with a 4 stitch length. Alright, so we have got our front and our lining assembled. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab one of the panels that we want to be behind this. I really like to have a contrasting one instead of using the same. I really like to have something that kind of contrasts each other so that the slip pocket kind of stands out more. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab our lining. The Sparkly Stars one is going to be my lining on this side. So what I'm going to do with right side down, I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to lay my outside panel down, and then I'm going to lay my slip pocket down, all on top of each other, making one ginormous sandwich. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to base stitch all the way around all 3 of these pieces so that they become one piece. That'll be your inside, that'll be your front. If you wanted, while you're doing this pattern, you can add a zipper pocket, slip pocket. You can add anything that you want to this pattern. I just wanted to keep it kind of simple for our first one so that it's quick sew. So we're going to put this aside and we're going to take this to the sewing machine in just a second. I am also going to grab my other outer piece of fabric and my other lining piece of fabric. I am also going to put the outer fabric face down, and remember I base stitched some waterproof canvas on mine, and then you're going to put the lining fabric on top of that just like that so that they're a sandwich. And we are going to base stitch all the way around this piece as well, making them our front piece and our back piece. So that's our outside and that's our lining. Again, you can put a little zipper pocket here, you could put a slip pocket, just trying to keep it simple for the pattern. So let's go base stitch these together. Alright, so I have got my stitches at a 4 length, and then we are just going to be base stitching at 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Alright, so I set my 2 panels aside, and now we're going to start working on our D-ring connector strap things. So, in the pattern, you'll find the length for your straps there. What I went ahead and did was I slipped my D-ring on, closed it up like so, and then I picked one of my little D-ring. That'll be so cute. I think it's probably going to be upside down, but we'll see. We're going to leave it about 1/2 inch over the edge, and what I'm doing is I am just base stitching with a 4 stitch length right about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. Sorry. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the other little D-ring cover, and I am going to, you can clip these together, but I am just going to willy-nilly it, but I am going to change my stitch length first. Alright, so I have got my stitch length to a 2.5. I am going to be sewing down this way, down across here, and then back up again. We're going to leave this open so that we can turn it inside out. Alright, now that this is done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to clip off these corners just so that when I turn it inside out, it'll flip nicely. I will just turn it. Okay, now with a 4 stitch length, I'm going to go down, around, and over. You can go ahead and base stitch that closed if you want. It is up to you. Aw, Hedwig turned out the right way. Yay! Just happy accidents happen here. Alright, now we're going to set both of these aside and we're going to start working on our zipper gusset. Alright, we're back at the sewing desk and we are working on our zipper gusset. I really like to keep my zipper pulls off until I get done because they just get in the way when we're trying to do things. Just don't forget to put them on. Because I've done that before and it is the worst. Okay, very first thing that we're going to do is make sure that you have burned the ends of your zipper tape if you're using nylon tape. Then the sparkly side is going to be my outside fabric and then the print is going to be on the inside. You can do this any way that you want. You are not limited. So I'm going to put right sides to right side of my zipper. And I know it's a little disconcerting having the waterproof canvas on there, so I apologize. But like I said, I got problems. I really like using the waterproof canvas. It just really makes my bags stand up the way that I like them to. And my customers like that extra security of having the waterproof canvas. Alright, next thing we're going to do, right side of the zipper to the right side of the fabric, we're going to grab our lining fabric and we're going to be putting that right side of our fabric to the wrong side of our zipper. I like to pre-clip everything to my zipper just because things like to move around if you're trying to do more than one thing at a time. So I'm just clipping it and then re-clipping it. So I've got my outside fabric, my zipper, my inside of my zipper, and then my lining fabric. So we're going to sew at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I am going to have my stitch length at a 2.5, and we're just going to sew all the way down, making sure to back stitch today at the beginning and at the end of our zipper. Alright, now something that I like to do is I like to take my top fabrics. You're going to have to pull your top fabric away from your zipper and your lining fabric away from your zipper so that your outside fabric and your lining fabric are together. And what I like to do, instead of just top stitching like a 4 right here, I actually like to start on this right side and base stitch my zipper all together. It just makes it so much easier when you're trying to install a gusset if your sides and everything are kind of base stitched together. And I am using a 4 stitch length. And it bastes them together, and then as I'm trying to add the sides to it or add it to my front or back panel, just makes it so much easier instead of having to do with 2 different fabrics. Alright, so we're back at our table. I have got all of this base stitched all the way around and top stitched near my zipper. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our top piece or outer fabric, and we're going to put it again right side to the zipper. Alright, so we've got that clipped in place. Let's grab our lining. And I always try and see, because I cut them semi-close to each other, I want to see if that when it opens up, can you see where the key is, where it lines up? I like to have them open up to where they're supposed to. So I'm going to lay this flat down like that. You don't have to, I mean it's a lining, but if you want to go the extra mile, just make sure that you're putting your lining in the right direction. Alright, just like we did with the other side, we're going to sew 1/4 of an inch all the way down, making sure to back stitch at both ends, and then we're going to flip it inside out and then baste it. Alright, so we're going to do a little bit of prep work that a lot of people can forget to do. Wow, your zipper looks really nice not putting your zippers on first. Sometimes we can always forget to put our zippers on. So let's do that real quick. So now that I've got my zipper pulls on my zipper, something I also always forget to do is put my D-rings on. I don't know why, it just happens. So whatever you want to be showing on the outside of your bag, you want to put face down onto your very bottom gusset. And I am just going to clip that on, and then I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and at 1/8 of an inch I am going to sew with a 4 stitch length just right across there. And I'm going to grab my other one, making sure that it is also facing the right way. Those are the 2 things I think a lot of us forget, is to put our zippers on and forget to put our D-ring things in. It happens. So let's do it now so we don't forget. Alright, the next thing that we're going to do now that we have our D-rings base stitched along the edge, what we're going to do is we're going to grab some clips, and we are going to take our zipper panel and we're going to put right side to right side of your bottom gusset. And what I like to do is I like to kind of pre-clip everything just to kind of hold everything in place. And the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to grab your lining. Now that you have your lining piece, we're going to put right side to right side, and we're going to clip that in place. so that you have your outside bottom gusset, your zipper gusset, and then your lining bottom gusset. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to this other end and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put my right side of my gusset to the right side of my zipper gusset. And again, I'm just going to clip ahead of time because it just helps kind of hold everything in place while I'm trying to put all 3 layers together. Then I'm going to grab my lining bottom gusset. And clip these together. And let's go to the sewing machine and we are going to sew at 1/4 inch all the way across both sides. Alright, so I have got my gusset and I am going to sew at 1/4 inch, making sure to back stitch. Now I am going to grab, and this is going to be weird because you can't see it, I am going to grab this other gusset and just kind of shove everything else out of the way. We don't want to make sure, you want to make sure that you're not sewing any of this, but you're just going to shove it out of the way. And then we're going to put this next gusset right behind our next one. We are not sewing them together. We are kind of like chain piecing them together so that we're not wasting thread, pulling it out and then pushing this one in and then pulling that out. You get it. You can backstitch over the zippers if you would like. It is up to you if that makes you feel better, if that's something that you do. I had my stitches at 3, by the way, in case you were wondering. It's just a little bit thicker right there, so I like to extend my stitches just a little bit because it's getting kind of thick. Next thing I want to show you guys is something that I've been doing for a little while now, and if you've watched any of my videos, you've probably seen it already, but I like to flip everything inside out like this. And then what I like to do is start at the gusset, because normally what you would do is you would just sew straight across here, right? And call it a day. I have been clipping around my gusset and putting the whole, basting the whole thing together. So I'm sewing around where my D-rings are, but I'm also base stitching around all of my gusset so that all of my gusset is one piece, just like I did with the zippers and base stitching the zipper lining to the zipper outside together. I do that to my gusset as well, and it makes it so much easier when I am trying to attach the front and the back to everything if all of this is just one piece. Instead of having to fight with these 2 pieces and make sure everything's even and everything, it's already done for you. So I am going to extend my stitches to a 4, and then you are going to kind of have to work with it. Okay, let's see how she do. With my needle down, I'm going to turn everything around. And then I'm just going to sew along my gusset. Always have your needle down. Whenever you're going to adjust anything, make sure that the needle is down. You don't want your stuff to move. Go, clip, be free. So our gusset is all one big circle and so much easier to work with. Now, next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take from our edges here, we're going to match up our edges, and we are going to find the center of our zipper gusset. And it's going to be thick, or at least mine is because I use waterproof canvas. And you're going to do it on both sides of your zipper. You're just going to make a little notch so that you know where the middle of your zipper is. You can use a little marking tool or something like that. Go for it. Now, we're going to do the same thing and line them up and find the very bottom. But wait, there's more. So we're going to take the middle mark that we made in our zipper gusset and the middle mark that we made on our bottom gusset, and we are going to line those up. Then we are going to follow them down to the side, and we're going to make another mark here. Because ours is square and there are 4 sides to match up, that's what we're going to have to do. So meet up our middles, come down here, and you're going to need to do this on both sides. I have forgotten a couple of times and accidentally just did it on one side. Like, whoops, got to do it on both sides of the gusset, which also is another reason why I'm glad the gusset is one piece instead of several layers of fabric that can kind of like shift around when you're doing stuff. Oh. Okay, all of our marks are done. The next thing that we need to do is we need to grab both of our back panel and our front panel, and we need to do the same exact thing. We're going to need to make a center mark here and a center mark at the bottom. We're going to need to make a center mark here and a center mark here so that we have our 4 marks to meet up together. So the first thing I'm going to do is fold this in half like so. Make my little snip, go down to the bottom, and she's thick. At least mine is. Make a little snip, open it up, fold it down again, if you want to pre-snip your fabric before you sew all this together, probably be a good idea too, so that it's not super thick. Alright, so this one has all 4 snips. I'm going to go do the back panel and then we will put the gusset and everything all together. Alright, so I have all of my notches on my zipper gusset and I have all of my notches on my main gusset. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this inside out so that my lining is outside. I am going to match up my middle notch of my zipper gusset to the middle notch on my main panel, and I'm probably going to need to back you guys up a little bit so you can actually see what I'm doing. I normally like to start at the top and put just a few clips just to kind of hold it in place, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my bottom notch matches up to the bottom notch on my bag. And it is trash day if you can hear the trash trucks. Alright, so it should look like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to match up our side notches on both our gusset and our main panel. And I'm just putting 3 clips on for now on each side because we are going to have to kind of snip into our little round spaces right here. So we're just going to get it to hold still for a minute and then we'll start putting it all together. So I've got my other side notches matched up. Now, you're going to want to get yourself a nice sharp pair of scissors, and we are going to cut through the 1/8 of an inch basting stitches that we just did, but we're just doing it on these round corners so that all of this will lay flat. So I'm just going to snip. You're going to go a little bit past the 1/8 of an inch mark because our seam allowance was going to be a 1/4 of an inch. All of this will be hidden inside of our seams, but if you do these clips, it'll help it lay like it's supposed to all the way around the edges. So I am going to clip that in place, and I am going to do that on all 4 corners. So my camera basically doesn't want to record today, so good job. Alright, I have got everything clipped to my front panel, my gusset nice and clipped. I clipped all the way around the round edges just to make it lay flatter. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take it to our sewing machine and we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch from the edge. We don't want our stitches to show from the outside if you accidentally don't stitch the same length on your binding. So I like to do 1/8 of an inch first just to kind of base it in place, and then we'll put our binding on and sew a little further in so it's a little more sturdy. Alright, I have got my stitches at a 4 length, and then I am just going to base stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Alright, so we're on to binding. What I like to do is use, yes, waterproof canvas to bind my insides. I can't help it. I just do. So, I'm going to get one end. I actually cut this 1 inch wide by the length of my waterproof canvas. And then I'm going to fold one end over, and I am just going to cut diagonally like this. That is going to cut some of the bulk out so that when I flip this over and then pinch it together, there's, you know how you have those little pieces that are sticking out sometimes? That helps get rid of that. Alright, we are going to bind this baby up, and you can use as many clips as you want to. I like to leave my corner, go around my corner and then leave it there for a second. And then come back, and you can make a mitered corner, you can make a squishy corner. It is entirely up to you. If you would work with me today, that'd be great. And then you can just clip. We're going to clip all the way around. I prefer waterproof canvas just because it's easier Had a couple people say that theirs kind of started unraveling on them, and I really feel like it just depends on where you get your waterproof canvas from. I've never had it happen to me, so I guess it just depends. Maybe over time it happens, I don't know. If you've ever had it happen to you, let me know in a comment down below. But I like working with it because it's just a lot easier to work with. I hate making binding. We're going to take this back to the sewing machine, and I am going to sew at 1/4 inch in. And I am going to do the same thing on this end. I'm going to put this together like that, cut diagonally, alright, and then fold this under. You probably can't see a thing that I'm doing. Alright, now the way that I like to do this is with the gusset facing up so that it's kind of out of your way while you're working on it. So we're just going to sew 1/4 inch all the way around. Alright, so I have got my stitch length at 4. And then something you also want to make sure when we get around there, but where your front panel connects to your sides, you know, make sure that you catch that into your seam allowance so that you don't see it on the outside. I'll show you in a second. Alright, so we're coming to the point where our bottom gusset and our top gusset come together, and then our little panel that we had at the front is right here. So you're going to make sure that you're in there and catching everything before you keep going. Alright, so what I like to do once I've got the binding on and everything is just do a double check and make sure all of it got caught in the seams and everything. And then I also like to turn it inside out and just making sure that at the tops, at the corners, that everything is caught, because if you didn't catch everything, you want to go back and sew it before you have to turn your bag inside out again, because nothing would stink more than getting finished with your bag and then be like, dadgummit, I gotta turn it back inside out and re-sew things. So just, especially for the front, because it's the main thing that you see, I like to turn it inside out before I put my back on and just kind of double check that everything's cool, it's where it needs to be, you can't see any of my basting stitches or anything like that. So now I'm going to turn it back inside out, and we're going to go back over to the sewing table and put the other, the back panel on, but so far it looks good. Alright, so I wanted to save you guys the trouble of watching me ride the struggle bus and trying to cut out these corners because they're thick with the waterproof canvas. But I went ahead and I clipped all of my round corners just like I did on this one so that they would lay nice and flat when I'm trying to sew the back panel onto the gusset. It'll just lay nice and flat now. Let's go sew. We're going to do the 1/8 of an inch basting stitch all the way around. I am going to lay it like this when I go to sew it so that I can kind of push the body out of the way when I'm trying to sew all the way around. And we're almost done, guys. I have my stitch length to a 4, and we're just going to go 1/8 of an inch all the way around, connecting the gusset and the back piece. Alright, so I went ahead, you saw me attach the back. I went ahead and bound it just like I did with this side. Bound it, and now I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and I am going to have it like this. And that way I can kind of push things around so that I can bind this without too much trouble. So let's go do that. Alright, I have my stitch length out of 4. And I am just going to go around 1/4 of an inch all the way around the edge. Alright, you're almost done! Alright, so we're going to grab our zippers and we're going to open these up like so. And I kind of push my panel out of the way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the corners first and just kind of put my fist into those corners. Okay. Sorry, I have to give it a hug to get it straight. Okay. What you want to do is kind of roll these edges out so that they don't kind of cave in on themselves. You want to just kind of roll them out away from each other. And then do the same thing on the back. Okay. And she's done! She's so cute on the inside and so cute on the outside. She's got a nice little double zipper. I really like, in my purses anyway, just having a slip pocket that I can just kind of throw my phone in and not have to worry about. I can just grab it in and grab it out and I'm good to go. Alright. Now that we're all done, we're going to work on our strap really quickly. Because I know a lot of you guys probably know how to do this, but if you don't, here you go. We're going to grab our strap connector, and excuse my trash man coming down the street. I want him to pick up my trash I've been cleaning. Alright, we're going to put it through one end of the strap adjuster, and then we're going to put it through the other, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to clip on both sides of that just to kind of hold it in place. Normally I would go ahead and then sew a box around it and then move on, but I want to do this so you can see what I'm actually doing. Alright, once this is on, we're going to keep it nice and straight. Nice and straight, nice and straight, nice and straight. And then we're going to grab our swivel clasp. We're going to put that on. Since we kept it straight, what you need to see is the buckle here. And then we're going to come back down to our adjustable clasp. So it should look like that. You should see the swivel clasp is on the opposite side of where our fabric is coming together, or where our webbing is coming together. Then we're going to take this with this side. We've kept it nice and straight. Put it through here. Keeping it straight, putting it back through here, and then pulling it a little bit. Keeping this straight, I'm going to grab my other swivel clasp. I'm going to put it on like so. Then I'm going to fold it over. I would say that's, let's see, it's about 2 inches of folding over. And I am going to put a clip on both sides. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to make a box, and then I'm going to make a cross across each one of these, and that way they're nice and sturdy and they're not going to break. Got my strap. My stitches are at a 3, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew a box. And this is my crazy method of making a box. You do not have to do it just like me. I just like having a few extra stitches on the sides to make sure nothing is going anywhere. Alright, now I'm going to do the same thing with the one by the strap slider and strap adjuster. And your strap is done. Alright, what did you think? Be kind in the comment section, but what did you think? I'm so excited that this bag has come to fruition and that we're going to be doing more of these patterns. And we have our sew-along. So if you haven't checked those out recently, you really should, because we've added a lot to them. and we're going to be adding a lot more this year. So make sure that you check out the panel section at K&A Custom Fabrics and look in the sew-alongs section. That way you can see all of the patterns that we've created. Also, if you make one of the persons with the Sarah pattern with the extra large panel, show us. We want to see it. We're nosy, okay? We're nosy. We want to see your creations. Make sure that you post on the page so that we can all ooh and ah over your skills. Because a lot of you guys are really creative out there, and you make beautiful stuff, and we want to see because we're nosy. So anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on some more of the cool patterns we have coming out or any of the sew-alongs, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And to the 80% of you guys, yes, I said 80% of you guys that are watching the videos and are not subscribed, help a sister out. When you guys subscribe, it really does help the channel, and it helps our two small businesses reach more people. So if you wouldn't mind subscribing, I'd really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them in the comment section down below. I do check those daily. You can also leave any questions or comments that you have on K&A Custom Fabrics Facebook page. We also have the testers on there. We had quite a few testers that shared their bags on there, and we had them checking out the pattern and my English. So they've done the pattern, they know what it's like. So if you have any questions and you want to get an answer really quickly, you can shoot a message on K&A Custom Fabrics, and one of the testers, if not myself, will answer any questions that you have. Thanks for joining us again on Faith Works Designs. Bye guys.